All right, so a possible thaw in relations, given the kind of tensions over tariffs that we've been seeing between India and the United States. So let's take you through the entire timeline of events that have taken place. It was on the 30th of August that Ukraine President Zelensky had spoken to Prime Minister Modi. This was ahead of Prime Minister leaving, for China, where he was going to be meeting with Vladimir Putin as well as Xi Jinping. It was then on the 31st of August that we saw those visuals of the Prime Minister meeting with Xi Jinping in the bilateral, and those were images that were viewed very closely around the world, given that there had been tensions between India and China in the past, and now you have this bilateral, you have these statements being made by both leaders regarding the importance of the friendship between the two Asian powers. Then it was on September 1st that everybody saw the three leaders, Putin, Prime Minister Modi, Xi Jinping all together, and that is something that really must have sent some sort of, anxiety over the coming together of the three powers of Russia, China and India coming together. And there was this kind of realization in the United States as well. You heard many political analysts there, Democrats also talking about how did we get the relationship with India so bad that we've actually sent India into the arms of China and Russia. And you're seeing these kind of images of all three leaders. And the next day, we also had the Modi-Putin bilateral take place. And what was interesting was this particular image that came out, which took everyone by surprise, that Vladimir Putin actually asked Prime Minister Modi to accompany him in his own car to the spot where the bilateral was to be held. So in the sense, there was a mini direct bilateral inside the car, and then of course the official one that took place later on the 4th of September. The EU president in fact spoke to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Remember, Prime Minister Modi is one of the few world leaders who enjoys a friendship with Zelensky as well as Vladimir Putin, someone who can talk to both the leaders. And therefore you have EU president also reaching out to Prime Minister Modi. Then on the 5th of September, that's yesterday, during this press conference in the White House, Donald Trump makes these remarks where he says that, Modi will always be a friend, that India and the US have had this relationship. However, he did express displeasure over what PM Modi is doing at the moment. This was in reference to India's Russian oil imports, and that remains the sticking point. The US wants us to give up those imports. India has refused to do so, and how this will play out going forward, one doesn't know, but there finally is something of a thaw with what the president said, and then Prime Minister Modi responding to that on social media, saying that he reciprocates Donald Trump's sentiments there. NDTV's Vishnu Shom with all the details.
Is this the beginning of the big strategic reset between the United States and India? Well, I would suggest don't hold your breath. Yes, it is an important development. The US President Donald Trump has spoken about his relationship with Prime Minister Modi. The US President has spoken about how India is an important partner and will remain that way. We've seen Prime Minister Modi reciprocate that statement by saying that he values the relationship, and it is a strategic relationship or partnership between India and the United States. And now we've got a reaction from Dr. S. Jaishankar, India's foreign minister, and I do believe that this is an important statement, because in this he says that that the Prime Minister attaches importance to the partnership with the United States. At the same time, the point is that we remain engaged with the US, and at this time I can't say more than that, but that's really what I would say. All right, so he's not getting ahead of himself. He knows where the diplomatic relationship between the two countries has been, and as an experienced diplomat, he is, he's trying to curtail his response, take it and place it at exactly the appropriate level. Is this going to be the start of that reset, or is this going to be just another step in this ongoing story of, Trump says something, New Delhi doesn't essentially react, and then the relationship keeps going down because of more rhetoric from America? What remains clear is that India is going to be resolute in our position. We are strategically autonomous. We value America, but we value other nations as well, and that's not going to change.
All right, so once again, let's take you through all the big developments as Vishnu was telling us about, the rhetoric we've seen from the United States and how India too has, held its own in the midst of this tension. So it started with the 50% tariff imposed on India by the United States. That's 20%, 25% levy on goods from India. This is after we did not arrive at a trade deal. But then an additional 25% tariff or sanctions were added to penalize India for buying oil from Russia, and we were blamed for, in fact, funding Russia's war on Ukraine. Now, the Prime Minister said that India won't bow, that India will put its interests first. And then we saw a lot of rhetoric coming from the United States with Trump advisors and aides accusing India of fueling the Russia-Ukraine war, one even going on to say that the road to peace runs through Delhi, even sharing a photograph of the Prime Minister meditating in saffron robes. This was a photograph from the Kedarnath cave, and it was seen to be a very racist thing to have done, and to share such an image of the Prime Minister. Again, India said, was resolute. They said, we will continue to buy Russian crude oil, and called out Western hypocrisy, with the MEA saying that targeting of India is unjustified and unreasonable, that like any major economy, India will take all necessary measures to safeguard its national interests and economic security, pointing out that China was one of the biggest importers, and also that India dealt with oil products with the European Union, something that in fact helped keep some sort of stability in the world at a time when there were so many sanctions against Russia. Then Trump says that the US is India's biggest market, again taunting India and again hitting out over the fact that we have not arrived at that trade deal. The Prime Minister pushed the Buy Swadeshi campaign, saying that, we will look inwards and we will support our own manufacturers and we will buy Swadeshi. There was a threat of secondary sanctions, as we said, that 50% tariffs that India is facing. And then you saw what took place in China, where the Prime Minister went for the SCO summit, and there were images of the Prime Minister with Xi Jinping, and the image of all three leaders that you can see there of Xi Jinping, of Vladimir Putin, and Prime Minister Modi. And these images were seen very closely and sent shockwaves, in fact, in the United States, where there was a lot of hand wringing and wondering of how it came to this, that India has now, these images are being seen, and India is now getting closer to China and to Russia. Aditya reports.
In a major icebreaker between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Donald Trump, between India and United States, Prime Minister Modi has put out on social media a welcome message for Donald Trump's words of appreciation for Modi. In fact, Donald Trump just a few hours ago had said that while he doesn't like what Modi is doing right now, but Modi remains a friend, and also there wasn't much that was wrong between India and US, and there was nothing to worry about. He said that India remains a special friend. Prime Minister Modi, reacting to Trump, has now said, in fact, that as of now, of course, Modi appreciates the global strategic bilateral partnership with the United States, and of course welcomes the statements from President Trump as well. In the last few weeks, there have been a lot of statements coming in from DC that are seen as bullying tactics, and at the same time, a lot of pressure being exerted on New Delhi to change its stance in respect to the trade deal. This all started also when there was a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, and Trump went door to door in public giving statements saying that it was Trump that arrived at the ceasefire. Trump also wanted perhaps a photo op between Modi, Asim Munir and him at the White House, and perhaps a recommendation from Modi for the Nobel Peace Prize. All of that clearly did not happen. India stood its ground, and this is clearly a big win for India's strategic autonomy. Donald Trump administration finally realizing post the SCO huddle between Putin, Modi and Xi Jinping that all is not well. India seems to be going and considering other options, and now perhaps there are some members in the Trump administration who have told Trump that this cannot be the way forward. We cannot bully a close ally, a strategic partner like India. It will go the wrong path, and certainly we will not arrive at a trade deal.